Little girl desperately approaches police officer. Follow me to my house. What he discovered left everyone in tears. Before we dive into the story, drop a comment below and tell us where you're watching from. Enjoy the story. She appeared out of nowhere, grabbed my arm and screamed, "Pretend you're my dad." And that's how I entered the strangest house of my life. Officer Kevin Larson walked his final patrol through Maplewood's quiet streets. After 30 years on the force, retirement loomed just 2 weeks away. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows as he mentally cataloged the familiar storefronts he'd soon no longer protect. His thoughts drifted, as they often did, to Sarah. 5 years since cancer took her, yet some days the loss felt fresh as morning dew. They'd dreamed of traveling during his retirement. Now those plans, like the photograph on his nightstand, gathered dust. The small hand that suddenly clutched his arm startled him back to reality. "Please," the little girl whispered urgently, her blue eyes wide with fear. "Pretend you're my dad. Just for a minute. Please." She couldn't have been more than 6 years old, with untidy blonde hair and a faded dress that hung loosely on her thin frame. Before Kevin could respond, she pulled him toward a dilapidated house at the end of Cedar Lane. "What's your name?" Kevin asked gently, allowing himself to be led while scanning for signs of danger. "Lily," she answered, glancing nervously over her shoulder. "Please, hurry." The peeling paint and sagging porch of the old Victorian house told a story of neglect. Inside, the musty air carried the unmistakable heaviness of a place where sunshine rarely reached. Scattered toys and children's books contrasted sharply with unpaid bills piled high on a dusty table. "Grandma Margaret," Lily called out, still clutching Kevin's hand. "I brought someone to help." In the dimly lit living room, an elderly woman sat in a worn armchair, her white hair uncombed and her eyes clouded with confusion. "Thomas?" the old woman asked, squinting at Kevin. "Did you bring the medicine?" "No, Grandma, this is Officer Kevin," Lily corrected with practiced patience. "Remember I told you about him? He walks by our house every day." Kevin knelt beside the elderly woman, noting her fragile appearance and the empty pill bottles on the side table. "Ma'am, is there someone else? Who helps take care of you and Lily?" Margaret's gaze drifted, focusing on something distant. "My daughter will be back soon. She always comes on Tuesdays." Lily's eyes met Kevin's, silently communicating what her grandmother couldn't say. "When did you last eat, Lily?" Kevin asked softly. The girl shrugged. "Yesterday, I think. The food went bad again." Kevin followed Lily into the kitchen, where she stood on a step stool to open the refrigerator. Inside were spoiled milk and moldy bread. The freezer held a single frozen dinner. "I save it for when Grandma Margaret has really bad days," Lily explained with heartbreaking matter-of-factness. On the counter, Kevin noticed a jar labeled "Emergency Money," containing a handful of coins and crumpled dollar bills. Beside it lay a child's drawing of a faceless woman holding a little girl's hand. "Lily, where are your parents?" Kevin asked. Carefully, the girl stiffened. "Mom's away. She'll come back soon." Her rehearsed response didn't match her anxious expression. As they walked back to the living room, Kevin noticed Lily's small bed pushed against Margaret's bedroom door. "So I can hear if she needs me at night," Lily explained, following his gaze. Kevin's heart tightened in his chest. This child wasn't just living in neglect. She was caring for her grandmother alone. "Please don't tell anyone," Lily whispered, her small hand reaching for his again. "They'll take us away from each other." As the setting sun cast shadows across the room, Kevin faced an impossible choice between duty and compassion. Something about this situation felt wrong, deeper than mere neglect. And in that moment, Officer Kevin Larson's carefully planned retirement suddenly became much more complicated. The next morning found Kevin at the Maplewood Social Services office, his police uniform replaced with civilian clothes. The waiting room buzzed with distracted caseworkers rushing between cubicles while phones rang unanswered. "Officer Larson?" A tired-looking woman with stacks of files approached. "I'm Andrea Wilson. We've got 5 minutes." Kevin described Lily and Margaret's situation, feeling the inadequacy of words to capture what he'd witnessed. Andrea's expression remained unchanged as she typed notes mechanically. "We're severely understaffed," she sighed, checking her watch. "I've logged your report, but realistically, it could be weeks before someone visits, unless you're reporting immediate danger." "This child is alone caring for someone with dementia," Kevin emphasized. Andrea nodded sympathetically. "Unfortunately, that describes dozens of cases on my desk. I'll flag it, but that's all I can do today." Kevin, left with an uncomfortable weight in his chest. The system designed to protect people like Lily and Margaret was drowning in its own bureaucracy. Back home, Kevin stared at the photograph of Sarah on his nightstand. Her gentle eyes seemed to question him silently. "What would you do?" he whispered. To her image. Memory transported him to their conversation years ago, sitting in the doctor's office after learning they couldn't have children. "We could adopt," Sarah had suggested, hope brightening her eyes despite the diagnosis. "There are so many children who need someone." But cancer arrived before those plans could materialize, leaving Kevin with a house too quiet and dreams unrealized. By afternoon, Kevin found himself standing on Lily and Margaret's porch with groceries. Lily opened the door cautiously, then broke into a relieved smile. "You came back." "Just brought some food," Kevin explained, following her inside. Margaret sat in the same chair, seemingly unchanged from yesterday. "Look, Grandma, Officer Kevin brought groceries." Margaret's gaze drifted toward Kevin. "You're not the doctor." "No, ma'am, just helping out." While unpacking groceries, Kevin noticed Lily's precise organization. Neat stacks of Margaret's medication, labeled with handwritten instructions in childish printing. "You're doing a remarkable job caring for your grandmother," Kevin said gently. Lily stood straighter. "Mom showed me what to do before she left." "And when was that exactly?" Lily's expression shuddered. 3 months ago, but she calls sometimes." Kevin noticed the disconnected telephone on the wall, another small fiction in Lily's carefully constructed world. "May I see your room?" Kevin asked. Lily led him to a small space containing only a narrow bed and a box of treasures. On the nightstand sat a worn doll with faded yarn hair. "This is Emily," Lily said, straightening the doll's dress. "She keeps secrets." Kevin noticed something odd. The name Emily was stitched into the doll's dress, but in thread newer than the doll itself. "Did you name her?" "No," Lily answered quietly. That was always her name. In Margaret's room, Kevin observed a locked cabinet. When questioned, Lily quickly diverted his attention. "Nobody opens that. Grandma's rules." Later, Kevin helped Lily change Margaret's bedsheets. When he moved the mattress, he discovered a child's drawing, a house with flames coming from its windows. No one had mentioned a fire. "Where did this come from?" he asked. Lily snatched it quickly. "It's nothing, just a bad dream I had." As evening approached, Kevin prepared simple sandwiches. While they ate, Margaret had a moment of clarity. "You're not family," she stated firmly, studying Kevin's face. "No, ma'am, I'm Officer Larson. I'm helping Lily." Margaret leaned forward, her eyes suddenly clear and intense. "She needs someone to see her, really see her." The statement hung in the air, heavy with unspoken meaning. Leaving that night, Kevin found Lily standing on the porch. "Will you come back tomorrow?" she asked, vulnerability momentarily replacing her usual self-sufficiency. Kevin knew what policy dictated. File reports, maintain professional distance, let the system work. Yet something about this situation demanded more. "Yes," he promised. "I'll be back tomorrow." As Kevin drove home, he couldn't shake the feeling that the mysteries of this house had only begun to reveal themselves. The county hospital's fluorescent lights cast harsh shadows as Kevin walked the sterile corridor. After 3 days of helping Lily and Margaret, he knew he needed professional medical advice. The nurse at the station directed him to Elaine Bennett, a silver-haired woman with kind eyes and efficient movements. "Officer Larson? I've heard about you," Nurse Elaine said, extending her hand. "Small towns and their gossip. You're helping the Simmons family on Cedar Lane? You know them, Kevin asked, surprised. Not officially. Margaret used to be on my rotation before budget cuts. Elaine lowered her voice. I still check on her when I can, though the department doesn't know. They settled in the quiet hospital cafeteria. Kevin described Margaret's condition and medication, while Elaine listened with growing concern. That poor child, she sighed. I suspected something wasn't right, but Margaret always insisted everything was fine. And Lily, she's quite convincing for someone so young. Too convincing, Kevin agreed. No 6-year-old should know how to budget grocery money or administer medication. Has social services visited yet? Kevin shook his head. They're backlogged. Meanwhile, Lily's essentially alone. Elaine studied her coffee thoughtfully. I can't officially add Margaret. Back to my rounds, but I could stop by tomorrow. Maybe together we can piece this puzzle together. The next afternoon, Kevin arrived at Cedar Lane to find Elaine's car already parked outside. Inside, Elaine was gently checking Margaret's vitals while Lily hovered nearby, watchful as a guardian. Your grandmother's blood pressure is a bit high, Elaine explained to Lily. Has she been taking the blue pills regularly? Every morning with breakfast, Lily answered confidently. But we ran out last week. Elaine made a note. I'll bring some samples from the hospital. That should help until we get her prescription refilled. While examining Margaret, Elaine hummed softly, an old lullaby that seemed to soothe the elderly woman. Suddenly, Margaret's expression transformed from placid to panicked. Stop that song, she cried, knocking the blood pressure cuff to the floor. Never that song. She'll hear it. Elaine immediately fell silent, exchanging alarmed glances with Kevin. Lily rushed to Margaret's side, taking her trembling hands. It's okay, Grandma. Nobody's singing anymore, Lily soothed, shooting a warning look at Elaine. Margaret gradually calmed under Lily's gentle reassurances. The girl's practiced response suggested this wasn't the first such episode. Later, while Lily helped Margaret drink water, Kevin pulled Elaine aside. What was that about? He whispered. I have no idea. It was just an old lullaby my mother used to sing. Elaine's brow furrowed. But, Kevin, something else concerns me. I've been looking at the prescription bottles. They're not all in Margaret's name. Kevin had noticed the same discrepancy. Some have different last names entirely. And did you see how Lily reacted? Almost like she was expecting Margaret's outburst. Elaine hesitated. The few times I've mentioned Lily's mother, Margaret gets this look, not confusion, Kevin. Fear. While helping tidy the kitchen, Kevin noticed Lily carefully avoiding a specific floorboard that creaked loudly when he stepped on it. What's wrong with this spot? Kevin asked casually. Nothing, Lily answered too quickly. We just never stepped there, house rules. Kevin pressed lightly with his foot, feeling the board give slightly. Lily immediately diverted his attention by dropping a plate, not accidentally, he suspected. Oops, can you help me clean this up? Before leaving, Elaine pulled Kevin aside on the porch, her expression troubled. Kevin, I've worked with elderly patients for 30 years. Margaret's confusion isn't just dementia. Some of it is selective, like she's trying to hide something even from herself. What about Lily? Kevin asked. That child hasn't been to school in months, according to records. Yet she can calculate medication dosages and remembers appointment times better than most adults. Elaine gripped Kevin's arm. Something isn't right here. The few times I've mentioned Lily's mother, Margaret gets this look, not confusion, Kevin. Fear. As Kevin drove home, Elaine's words echoed in his mind. The puzzle of Cedar Lane was growing more complex, with pieces that refused to fit together. And somewhere at the center of it all was a little girl carrying far too many secrets for her small shoulders. Morning sunshine streamed through the dusty windows of the Cedar Lane house as Kevin helped Lily prepare breakfast. After a week of daily visits, they had fallen into a comfortable routine, Kevin arriving with fresh groceries, helping with chores, and providing the adult supervision Lily desperately needed. Can you teach me to ride a bike? Lily asked suddenly. pointing to a rusted bicycle leaning against the garage. Mom said she would, but the unfinished sentence hung between them, another piece of Lily's fractured narrative. Of course, Kevin smiled. We'll need to fix it up first, though. They spent the morning in the overgrown backyard, Kevin teaching Lily how to oil the chain and tighten the handlebars. Her focus was intense, absorbing every detail with remarkable concentration. You're a quick learner, Kevin observed. I have to be, she replied with that unsettling adult pragmatism. Grandma Margaret forgets things, so I remember for both of us. From her bedroom window, Margaret watched them with unusual clarity in her eyes. Just like before, she murmured to herself, the words too soft for anyone else to hear. By afternoon, Lily was wobbling down the driveway on the repaired bicycle, her delighted laughter a rare reminder of her actual age. For a brief moment, she was simply a child learning to ride, not a caretaker or secret keeper. Look at me, she called, momentarily free from her burdens. Kevin clapped encouragingly, his heart both warmed and troubled by her joy. What kind of life had Lily been living that made such simple childhood pleasures seem extraordinary? Later, while Margaret napped, Kevin helped Lily organize the kitchen pantry. In the back of a cupboard, he discovered a sealed container of cookies. Can we eat these? He asked. Lily's expression darkened. No. Those are only for when Mom visits. The dust-covered container told its own story, one that contradicted Lily's persistent fiction about her mother's return. In Margaret's room, Kevin noticed a small cabinet beside her bed, secured with a sliding bolt. What's in there? He asked Lily, who was arranging Margaret's medication. Nobody ever opens that, she answered without looking up. Grandma's rules. Kevin made a mental note to check it later when Lily wasn't watching. As he turned away, Margaret stirred in her sleep, mumbling, "Must keep promises, must keep secrets." That evening, after preparing dinner, Kevin helped Lily with simple math problems he'd brought, an attempt to supplement her missing education. Her intelligence was evident, though her knowledge had peculiar gaps. She could calculate percentages for medication dosages but struggled with basic multiplication. Tables. Did you like school, Lily? Kevin asked gently. Sometimes, she answered, focusing intensely on her paper. Before we moved here. And when was that? Lily hesitated, her pencil pausing. A long time ago, when Mom brought me to Grandma Margaret. The simple statement contained subtle inconsistencies with her previous stories, where she'd described living with Margaret always. As twilight deepened, Kevin tucked Lily into bed, a task she initially resisted as for babies, but gradually accepted with visible comfort. Would you like me to read you a story? He offered, noticing a shelf of children's books gathering dust. No, Lily replied, reaching instead for the worn doll named Emily. I like my own stories better. Kevin switched off the light, leaving the door cracked open. From Margaret's room came the soft sound of her voice, unusually clear in the quiet house. Is Thomas still here? Has he found the pictures yet? No, Grandma, Lily answered patiently. That's Kevin, remember? And there aren't any pictures. Kevin paused in the hallway, listening. Don't forget, Margaret continued urgently. The blue box stays locked. Promise me, Emily. I promise, Lily replied automatically, not correcting the name this time. Nobody will find it. That night, Kevin woke suddenly at 2 a.m., troubled by a vivid nightmare. In the dream, Lily stood in a burning room, calling a name he couldn't quite hear. The unsettling images lingered as he made coffee, reminding him of the drawing he'd found hidden under Margaret's mattress, the house with flames coming from the windows. Too many questions circled in his mind. Who was Emily? Why did Margaret sometimes call Lily by that name? What secrets were hidden in the locked cabinet and beneath the loose floorboard? As dawn broke, Kevin made a decision. Whatever was happening in the house on Cedar Lane went deeper than neglect or confusion, and somehow he knew finding the truth was the only way to truly help Lily. Kevin arrived at Cedar Lane carrying a children's photo album he'd purchased, a seemingly innocent gift that might encourage Lily to share more about her past. The house felt different today, with shadows that seemed to stretch despite the bright morning sun. "I brought something for you," Kevin told Lily, presenting the empty album. "I thought we could fill it with drawings and memories." Lily traced the cover cautiously. "What kind of memories?" "Whatever you like, maybe pictures of your family, you could draw them." Something flashed in Lily's eyes, wariness beyond her years. "I'm not very good at faces." Nevertheless, she accepted colored pencils and began drawing, while Kevin helped Margaret with breakfast. Her artwork showed a striking disparity, detailed backgrounds but deliberately vague people, always facing away or obscured. "Tell me about your mom," Kevin suggested casually. "What does she look like?" "She's pretty," Lily answered automatically. "Blonde hair, really blonde." Kevin nodded, recalling her description from last week. "Mom has dark hair, like mine used to be." Another inconsistency in Lily's carefully maintained story. While tidying the living room, Kevin discovered more prescription bottles behind the sofa, these labeled for someone named Catherine Williams, a name he hadn't encountered before. When questioned, Lily became defensive. "Those are old, from before." She quickly gathered them, hands trembling slightly. "You wouldn't understand grown-up things." Later, while Margaret dozed in her chair, Kevin noticed Lily slip into the backyard. Through the window, he watched her kneel beside the oak tree, digging a small hole with determined concentration. When she returned, dirt under her fingernails, Kevin asked, "What were you burying out there?" "Just playing," she answered, avoiding his gaze. That evening, after Lily went to bed, Kevin ventured into the backyard with a flashlight. At the base of the oak tree, he carefully excavated the freshly disturbed earth, unearthing a small tin box. Inside were newspaper clippings about missing children, all with faces carefully cut out, and a bus ticket dated 3 years earlier. Kevin's hands trembled as he reburied the box, understanding that whatever game Lily was playing had rules far more complex than he'd imagined. Returning inside, he found Margaret awake, her eyes unusually focused as she clutched his uniform sleeve. "She wasn't supposed to stay this long," Margaret whispered urgently. "It was only for one night, until things were safe." "Who wasn't Margaret? Lily?" But clarity had already slipped away, replaced by confused mumbling. As Kevin gently settled her back against her pillows, Margaret grabbed his hand with surprising strength. "Thomas, you promised to protect her from the people looking." "Who's looking, Margaret?" Kevin asked softly. "Who is Lily hiding from?" Margaret's eyes drifted closed, but her final words before sleeping sent a chill through Kevin's heart. "Not Lily. Emily. Always Emily." Morning rain tapped against the window of Maplewood Diner as Kevin sat, across from Detective Sofia Rodriguez, his former partner before her promotion to detective. Steam rose from their coffee cups, creating a private cloud between old friends. "I'm not filing an official report yet," Kevin explained, stirring his coffee absently. "But something's not right with this situation." Sophia's dark eyes studied him with the analytical gaze that had solved countless cases. "Let me get this straight. A 6-year-old living with an elderly woman with dementia, essentially acting as the caretaker, and social services is backlogged." "That's just the surface," Kevin replied. "There are inconsistencies in Lily's stories, prescription bottles with different names. Margaret calling Lily Emily during her confused episodes. Could be nothing," Sophia suggested. "Dementia patients often confuse people." "It's more than that. Margaret becomes afraid when certain topics come up, like she's hiding something even from herself. And Lily," Kevin hesitated. "She seems to be maintaining an elaborate fiction about her family situation." Sophia scribbled notes in her small leather notebook. "No birth certificate, you said? And medication for someone named Catherine Williams?" Kevin nodded, then froze as his gaze caught on something outside the diner window. Across the street stood Lily, her small figure partially hidden behind a newspaper stand, unmistakably watching them. When she realized Kevin had spotted her, she vanished into the crowd. "What is it?" Sophia asked. Turning to look, Lily was just outside, following me. Kevin stood quickly. "How would she even know I'm here?" They hurried outside, but the girl had disappeared completely, showing a disturbing talent for a 6-year-old. Later that afternoon, Kevin arrived at Cedar Lane with a hardware store bag containing bike repair supplies. He found Lily sitting on the porch steps, attempting nonchalance despite her mud-splattered shoes. "Been somewhere?" Kevin asked casually. "Just playing in the yard," she answered, not meeting his eyes. Kevin didn't press the issue, instead showing her the supplies. "Ready to finish fixing your bike?" Her face brightened instantly. "Really? Can we ride it today?" They spent the next hour in companionable work, Kevin guiding Lily's small hands as she tightened bolts and oiled chains. Her focus was absolute, tongue caught between her teeth in concentration. "My dad used to fix things," she said suddenly, then immediately looked as if she regretted the words. "Your dad?" Kevin prompted gently. This was new. Lily rarely mentioned her father. "Before he went away." She tested the pedals, avoiding Kevin's gaze. He was good with tools. From the window, Margaret watched their interaction, her expression unusually clear. "Thomas is teaching her just like before," she murmured, though no one could hear. When the bicycle was repaired, Kevin steadied it while Lily climbed on, her eyes wide with determination and trepidation. "I'm scared," she admitted, in a rare moment of childhood vulnerability. "That's normal," Kevin assured her. "I'll hold on until you're ready. Promise you won't let go?" "I promise." Kevin jogged alongside the bicycle, holding the seat as Lily pedaled down the driveway. Her initial wobbles gradually steadied, confidence growing with each turn of the wheels. "I think you're ready," Kevin said after their third pass. "Want to try on your own?" Fear flickered across Lily's face, quickly replaced by resolve. "Don't let go until I say." She pedaled faster, finding her balance, then called out, "Okay, you can let go." "Now!" Kevin released the bicycle, watching Lily ride independently for the first time. A normal childhood milestone that shouldn't have felt so momentous. Her delighted laughter echoed down Cedar Lane as she made a wide, somewhat wobbly turn and pedaled back toward him. That evening, as Kevin prepared to leave, Lily approached with unusual shyness. "Want to see something special?" she asked, leading him to her bedroom. From beneath a loose floorboard, different from the one Kevin had noticed earlier, she retrieved a small cloth bag. "These are my treasures," Lily explained, carefully, emptying the contents: foreign coins, smooth stones, a bracelet with unfamiliar initials, and a tarnished key. "They help me remember." "Remember what?" Kevin asked softly. Lily's fingers traced the bracelet's engraved letters, EMT. "Important things," she whispered, "from before." As Kevin drove home, his cell phone rang, Sophia's number flashing on the screen. "Kevin, I've been looking into public records," she said without preamble. "There's no birth certificate for any Lily Simmons connected to Margaret's family. No school records in Maplewood. It's like this child officially doesn't exist." The call came early Monday morning. Andrea Wilson from Social Services, her voice clipped with administrative efficiency. "Officer Larson, we've received concerning reports about the Simmons case. I'm conducting an emergency visit today at 10. Kevin's grip tightened on his phone. "What?" "Reports? A neighbor called. Something about an unsupervised child wandering the streets alone." Kevin thought of Lily following him to the diner, her remarkable independence suddenly working against her. "I'll meet you there," he said firmly. Andrea sighed. "That's not protocol, officer. I've been helping this family for weeks. The child trusts me." A pause. "Fine, 10 o'clock. Kevin arrived early, finding Lily in a frenzy of cleaning, scrubbing counters, hiding dirty laundry, arranging Margaret's medication with meticulous precision. "Someone important is coming," she explained, breathlessly. "We have to look normal. The phrase caught in Kevin's chest, a child understanding she needed to create an illusion of normalcy. "Lily," he said gently, kneeling to her level. "You know social services wants to help, right?" Her small hand stilled. "They'll separate us." "That's what they do." "Not necessarily. They want what's best." "Grandma Margaret needs me," Lily interrupted, her voice rising. "I promised to take care of her. I promised." The doorbell interrupted their conversation. Andrea Wilson stood on the porch, clipboard in hand, her expression professionally neutral. As Kevin made introductions, the inspection began methodically, Andrea noting the home's condition, checking the refrigerator, examining Margaret's medications. Kevin watched Lily follow the caseworker, answering questions with rehearsed precision, her performance almost flawless. Almost. "Lily, which school do you attend?" Andrea asked. "Maplewood Elementary," Lily answered promptly. "And your teacher's name?" A flicker of panic crossed Lily's face. "Mrs. Johnson." Andrea made a note. "Interesting. Maplewood Elementary doesn't have a Mrs. Johnson." The carefully constructed facade began. Crumbling. Lily's answers grew inconsistent under Andrea's gentle but persistent questioning. When asked about her mother's whereabouts, she gave 3 different explanations within minutes. In Margaret's room, the situation deteriorated further. The elderly woman became agitated during Andrea's questions, repeatedly calling Lily by the wrong name. "Emily knows where the medicine goes," Margaret insisted. "Emily takes care of everything." Andrea's eyebrows raised. "Who's Emily, Margaret?" "I am," Lily interjected quickly. "It's my middle name. Sometimes Grandma gets confused." But the damage was done. In the kitchen, Andrea delivered her assessment to Kevin, her voice low and firm. "This situation is untenable. The child is parentless and acting as primary caregiver to someone with advancing dementia. There's no record of her attending school. The prescription medications are concerning. Some aren't even prescribed to anyone in this household." Kevin felt a cold weight settling in his stomach. What happens now? Emergency placement for both. Margaret needs professional care. And Lily? Andrea hesitated. "Lily needs a proper home with appropriate supervision while we locate her parents or other family members." "When?" Kevin asked, his voice hollow. "I'm processing the paperwork today. Implementation within 48 hours. The news hit Lily like a physical blow. Her small body seemed to fold inward as Kevin explained as gently as possible. "It's temporary," he assured her, though the words felt hollow. "While we figure things out." "You promised," she whispered, tears welling in her eyes. "You said you'd help us stay together." That afternoon, Margaret's condition deteriorated rapidly. Whether from stress or coincidence, they couldn't tell. Her breathing became labored, her confusion more pronounced. When the ambulance arrived, Lily stood frozen in the doorway, watching emergency technicians load Margaret onto a stretcher. "Can I go with her?" Lily asked the paramedic, her voice small. "Family only, sweetie," he replied kindly. "But I am family." Lily protested, desperation cracking her voice. "I'm all she has." At the hospital, the questions multiplied. Staff needed information about Margaret's medical history, insurance, legal guardianship, details Lily couldn't provide, and documents they couldn't locate. In the sterile hospital corridor, Kevin watched Lily standing alone outside Margaret's room, her small shoulders bearing the weight of impending loss. She seemed to physically shrink before his eyes, transforming from the self-sufficient caretaker into what she truly was, a vulnerable, frightened child. When she finally spoke, her words carried the hollow resignation of someone who had expected disappointment all along. "Everyone leaves eventually," she whispered, her gaze fixed on the hospital floor. "That's why you have to be ready to take care of yourself." Rain drummed against the windows of Cedar Lane as Kevin conducted a careful search of the house. With Margaret hospitalized and Lily temporarily staying with Nurse Elaine, this might be his only chance to uncover the truth before social services implemented their placement orders. The musty scent of old papers and dust filled his nostrils as he methodically Examined drawers, cabinets, and closets. In Margaret's bedroom, he finally approached the locked cabinet that Lily had so carefully steered him away from. The simple sliding bolt yielded easily to a gentle push, evidently locked more as a boundary than a serious security measure. Inside, Kevin discovered photo albums and journals neatly arranged on shelves. The oldest album, its cover faded from years of handling, contained photographs of a younger Margaret with her family, including a daughter who appeared to be in her 20s in the most recent pictures. Kevin studied the woman's face, searching for resemblance to Lily but finding none. The journal entries spanned decades, becoming increasingly disjointed in recent years as Margaret's condition progressed. Most contained mundane details of daily life, but entries from 3 years ago showed a disturbing shift. April 15th, someone. Docking late at night. Rain so heavy I could barely hear them. A woman with a child claiming to be Catherine's friend said they needed shelter just for tonight. The little girl was soaking wet and shivering. What could I do but let them in? April 18th. They're still here. Woman says it's not safe yet. The child barely speaks, watches everything with those big eyes. Catherine would want me to help them. April 23rd. Woman left in the night. Said she'd return soon. Left the child, Emily, she called her. Left a letter I'm supposed to keep safe and money for expenses. Said not to tell anyone, especially about Emily. What have I gotten myself into? Kevin's heart pounded as the entries continued, documenting Margaret's initial confusion, her attempts to contact authorities, and her gradual acceptance of the child's presence as her memory began failing. May 30th. Emily takes care of me now more than I take care of her. So mature for 6 years old. Sometimes I get confused about who she is. She tells people her name is Lily now, says it's safer that way. In the bedroom closet, Kevin discovered a hidden compartment behind a loose panel. Inside lay a hollow book containing photographs hidden inside its cutout center. The images showed a different child than the one he knew, though with similar features. On the back of one photo was written, Emily Marie Thompson, age 4. Most disturbing was a newspaper clipping dated 3 years earlier, partially burned around the edges. The headline read, Local family feared dead in house fire, suspected arson. The accompanying photo showed a charred structure, flames still visible in the windows, eerily similar to Lily's hidden drawing. Kevin carefully photographed each document with his phone, his police training taking over as he preserved evidence of what exactly? A kidnapping, an elaborate deception, a desperate attempt to protect a child? In the kitchen, the loose floorboard that Lily always avoided yielded its secret, a sealed envelope addressed to whoever finds Emily, tucked inside a plastic bag. The letter inside was damaged by moisture, portions illegible, but certain phrases stood out in sharp clarity. Had to leave her with you. They're still looking. Not safe to return. Tell no one her real name. If I don't come back, the key around her neck opens. The final piece of Kevin's search brought him to Lily's room, where he examined the loose floorboard beneath which she kept her treasures. The initials on the bracelet, EMT, suddenly made sense. Emily Marie Thompson. As Kevin carefully replaced everything exactly as he'd found it, his phone rang. Nurse. Elaine's number flashing on the screen. Kevin, you need to come to the hospital right away. Her voice was urgent. Margaret had a moment of complete clarity. She's asking for you specifically, saying there's something you need to know about Lily before it's too late. What did she tell you? Kevin asked, already heading for his car. She keeps saying someone is coming back for Lily, and she's terrified about it. Kevin, she said the girl's real name isn't Lily at all. Through the torrential rain, Kevin drove toward the hospital, the pieces of a 3-year-old mystery finally beginning to form a coherent, troubling picture. The child he'd come to care for deeply was living under a false identity, carrying secrets far too dangerous for her small shoulders. And according to Margaret, someone was coming back for her. The hospital corridor stretched before Kevin like a passage to another world, its antiseptic smell and fluorescent lighting creating an atmosphere of suspended reality. Outside Margaret's room, Nurse Elaine waited, her expression grave. "She's been asking for you," Elaine whispered, "but her lucidity comes and goes. You might only have minutes." Inside, Margaret appeared smaller somehow, frailer against the white hospital sheets. Her eyes, usually clouded with confusion, were sharp and focused as Kevin approached. "Thomas?" she asked, reaching for his hand. "It's Kevin, Margaret, Officer Larson." She shook her head impatiently. "No time for corrections. I need to tell you about the girl." Kevin leaned closer. "About Lily, or should I say Emily?" Margaret's fingers clutched his wrist with surprising strength. "You know. I found the journal entries, and the photographs." A tear slipped down Margaret's wrinkled cheek. "I never meant to deceive anyone. At first I was just helping a woman and child for a night. Then she didn't come back." "Who was she, Margaret?" "The woman who brought Emily to you. Said her name was Catherine. Said she was friends with my daughter." Margaret's gaze drifted momentarily before sharpening again. "But my daughter would have told me about such a friend, and the way that woman watched the windows, jumped at every sound. She was running from something, or someone. And the child? Emily? Sweet little thing. Barely spoke those first weeks. Catherine told me to call her Lily if anyone asked, said it was safer." Margaret's breathing grew labored. As my mind started slipping, the girl took over. Reminded me of the story every day. "I'm Lily, your granddaughter," she'd say. "Mom will be back soon." After a while, I couldn't remember what was real anymore. "Why didn't you contact authorities?" "I tried, at first. Then," Margaret's expression darkened. "Catherine said they'd take Emily away, put her in danger. Said someone powerful was looking for her. And there was the fire." "What fire, Margaret?" "The night they came. Catherine said Emily's house burned, that people were hurt. That's why they needed to hide." Margaret's eyes drifted to the window, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Sometimes I hear Emily crying in her sleep, calling for her mama, her real mama." Kevin processed this information carefully. "And the locked cabinet? The things hidden under the floorboards?" "Catherine left a box. Said if she didn't come back in a year, I should open it. Give the contents to the police." Margaret's eyes clouded with regret. "But by then, my mind was slipping. I couldn't remember where I put the key. And Emily, Lily, she became so protective of our secrets." "The key around her neck, Kevin realized aloud. Margaret nodded weakly. "She never takes it off. Says her mother told her it's the key to going home." A nurse entered to check Margaret's vitals, frowning at her elevated heart rate. "She needs rest," she advised Kevin. "Just one more minute," Kevin pleaded, turning back to Margaret. "Why are you telling me this now?" Margaret's gaze was already growing unfocused, her moment of clarity fading. "Because Catherine called last night." Kevin's heart seemed to stop. "What? How?" "The hospital phone. Asked for Emily." Margaret's voice grew fainter. "Said it's time. Said she's coming to take her away." "When, Margaret? When is she coming?" But Margaret's eyes had drifted closed, her brief window of lucidity sealed shut again. The nurse gently ushered Kevin from the room, leaving him standing in the hallway with pieces of a puzzle that painted a disturbing picture. At Nurse Elaine's house, Kevin found Lily sitting at the kitchen table, carefully coloring a picture. The domesticity of the scene contrasted sharply with the revelations he now carried. "How's Grandma Margaret?" Lily asked immediately, her eyes searching his face for clues. Kevin sat across from her, choosing his words carefully. "She's resting. The doctors are taking good care of her." Lily nodded, returning to her drawing, a house with a family standing outside, their faces left conspicuously blank. "That's a nice picture," Kevin commented. "Is that your family?" Lily's crayon paused. Mid-stroke. "Maybe. Someday." Kevin noticed the key hanging from a thin chain around her neck. The key Margaret had mentioned, supposedly able to unlock the mysterious box Catherine had left behind. He faced an impossible ethical dilemma. Confront Lily with what he knew, potentially traumatizing her. Contact authorities with his suspicions, triggering an investigation that would certainly separate her from Margaret permanently. Or continue investigating independently, potentially putting Lily at risk if Catherine's warnings about danger were true. The social services deadline loomed just 24 hours away. Once Lily entered the system and Margaret was placed in long-term care, unraveling the truth might become impossible. As if sensing his thoughts, Lily looked up from her drawing, her eyes holding wisdom far beyond her years. "Sometimes," she said quietly, "keeping secrets keeps people safe. That's what Mom always told me." But which mom was she referring to? And safe from what? Or whom? Kevin's unmarked police car idled outside the precinct as rain tapped a gentle rhythm on the roof. Inside, Chief Parker's expression remained impassive as Kevin presented his findings. The journal. Entries, the photographs, the newspaper clippings about a mysterious fire. "Let me get this straight," Chief Parker said, leaning back in his chair. "You believe this child is living under a false identity, possibly connected to an arson case from 3 years ago?" "The evidence suggests it," Kevin replied. "I think someone brought her to Margaret to hide her, and as Margaret's condition deteriorated, the child adapted by creating this elaborate fiction about being her granddaughter." Chief Parker's frown deepened. "And you've been investigating this unofficially, while on administrative leave?" "I've been helping a child in need," Kevin corrected. "The investigation developed naturally as inconsistencies appeared." "Officer Larson," Chief Parker's voice hardened, "you're 2 weeks from retirement. This is precisely the kind of complication you don't need." "With respect, sir, this isn't about my retirement. It's about a vulnerable child possibly in danger. Which is exactly why this needs to go through proper channels." The chief reached for his phone. "I'm calling Detective Mercer to handle this, and social services needs to be updated immediately." Kevin felt a cold weight settling in his stomach. "Sir, if we rush this, we could be putting Emily, at greater risk. Margaret mentioned someone might be coming for her. If we move her into the system now, we lose any chance of understanding what's really happening." "That's not your call to make, officer. You've become too personally involved." Chief Parker's gaze softened slightly. "I understand your concern, but this is a matter for CPS and the detective division now. Your involvement ends here." Outside the precinct, rain had given way to heavy storm clouds as Kevin called Nurse Elaine. "They're accelerating." "The placement process," he explained grimly. "Social services will take custody of Lily tomorrow morning." "That poor child," Elaine sighed. "She's been so worried about Margaret. Barely slept last night." "I'm coming over," Kevin decided. "I need to talk to her before they take her." But when Kevin arrived at Elaine's house 20 minutes later, he found her standing on the front porch, panic etched across her face. "She's gone, Kevin. I was just folding laundry, and when I went to check on her..." Kevin rushed inside, finding the back door slightly ajar. On the kitchen table lay a child's drawing. A police officer with a sad face standing beside a house with barred windows. Underneath, in careful handwriting, "You told them about me. Now I have to run away again." Beneath the drawing was a small note in different handwriting. Adult, hurried. "You broke your promise. Now she knows where to find us." Kevin stared at the second note in confusion. "Who left this?" Elaine shook her head, bewildered. "No one came to the door. I would have seen them." Rain began falling again as Kevin stood in Elaine's kitchen, the twin notes confirming his worst fears. Someone had taken Lily. Or had she run away? And who was the mysterious she who now knew where to find them? The betrayal Lily felt was palpable in her drawing. In trying to help her, Kevin had broken her trust completely. The storm intensified as evening fell over Maplewood, transforming gentle rain into driving sheets that reduced visibility to mere feet. Kevin's windshield wipers fought a losing battle against the downpour as he drove slowly through the streets, searching for any sign of Lily. "We've checked the bus station and train depot. Sophia reported over the phone. No unaccompanied children matching her. Description. She's smart, Kevin replied, strain evident in his voice. She wouldn't go somewhere obvious. Thunder cracked overhead as Kevin pulled into his own driveway, exhaustion and despair settling over him like a physical weight. The search had yielded nothing, no sightings, no clues to where a resourceful 6-year-old might hide during a storm. Inside his house, Kevin moved mechanically, dropping his soaked jacket onto a chair and running a hand through his wet hair. The emptiness of his home seemed to mock him, a reminder of his failure to protect a child who had trusted him. Soft noise from the kitchen froze him mid-step. Approaching cautiously, Kevin rounded the corner to find his garage door slightly ajar. Heart pounding, he eased it open. There, huddled between boxes of holiday decorations and his workbench, lay Lily, soaking wet, shivering violently, her small backpack clutched against her chest. "Lily," he breathed, relief washing over him. Her eyes flickered open, glazed with fever. "You promised," she whispered accusingly. Scooping her into his arms, Kevin felt the unnatural heat radiating from her small body. Hours in the storm had left her dangerously ill. "I've got you," he murmured, carrying her inside. "You're safe now." As Kevin wrapped her in blankets and called Elaine for medical advice, Lily drifted in and out of consciousness, her fever-induced murmurs revealing fragments of truth. "Can't let them find me," she whispered. "Promised Mommy, the real one." "Your real mommy?" Kevin asked gently, placing a cool cloth on her forehead. Lily's eyes opened briefly, surprising clarity amidst the fever. "Not the lady who brought me to Margaret. My real mommy." Her small hand clutched weakly at the key around her neck. "She's why I have to hide." Before Kevin could ask more, Lily's eyes slid closed again, her breathing shallow but steady. Outside, the storm raged on, a perfect mirror to the turmoil Kevin felt. Rock Bottom had a certain clarity to it. Sitting here, watching over a fevered child who had run away rather than trust the system Kevin represented, he finally understood the magnitude of his responsibility. This wasn't just about solving a mystery anymore. It was about saving a little girl who had been carrying adult burdens far too long. And somewhere in Margaret's house, a hidden box waited, its contents, perhaps holding the key to Emily's true identity and the danger that had kept her hiding for 3 long years. Morning sunlight filtered through the blinds, casting gentle stripes across Lily's sleeping form on Kevin's couch. Her fever had broken during the night, though Nurse Elaine, who had come immediately when Kevin called, advised that the child needed rest and warmth after her dangerous exposure to the storm. Kevin watched her from the kitchen doorway, coffee cooling in his hand. In sleep, the careful mask of self-sufficiency slipped away, revealing just how small and vulnerable she truly was. His phone vibrated silently. Chief Parker again. The 5th call since Kevin had texted that Lily was safe but needed medical attention before being moved. He let it go to voicemail, knowing each hour he delayed reporting her location was another line crossed in his career. But retirement was 2 weeks away, and some things mattered more than protocol. When Lily finally stirred, Kevin sat beside her with chicken soup and toast. "Am I in trouble?" she asked, her voice small. "No," Kevin answered gently, "but we need to talk about some very important things." Lily studied his face, weighing his sincerity. "You told them about me, about my secrets." "I was trying to help you," Kevin explained, "but I didn't understand everything then. I think I need to understand now, before anyone else gets involved." He reached slowly into his pocket and withdrew the photograph he'd found at Margaret's house, the one labeled Emily Marie Thompson, age 4. "This is you, isn't it?" he asked softly. Lily's fingers trembled as she touched the photograph, tracing the outline of a younger version of herself. "That's my real name," she whispered. "But Catherine said I had to be Lily now. To be safe." "Catherine, the woman who brought you to Margaret." Lily nodded. "She said bad people were looking for me. That they hurt my real mom and dad. Her voice dropped even lower. That they burned our house. Kevin's heart ached at the trauma this child had endured. The key around your neck, what? Does it open? Lily's hand automatically went to the small key hanging from its chain. Catherine's special box. She said if she didn't come back in time, I should give it to a policeman I trust. Her eyes met Kevin's. Are you that policeman? The simplicity of her question carried the weight of absolute trust, a second chance Kevin hadn't expected. I want to be, he answered honestly. Will you show me the box, Lily? Or should I call you Emily? A ghost of a smile touched her lips. I'm used to Lily now. Sometimes I forget about Emily. That afternoon, against the protests of Chief Parker and social services, Kevin brought Lily back to Cedar Lane one last time. The house stood silent and empty without Margaret's presence. In the bedroom, Lily carefully lifted the loose floorboard beneath what had been her small bed. The space underneath contained a metal lockbox, approximately the size of a thick hardcover book. I never opened it, Lily explained. Catherine said it was only for emergencies. With trembling fingers, she removed the key from around her neck and inserted it into the box's small lock. It turned with a soft click. Inside lay several items: a USB drive, legal law, documents in a sealed envelope, a handwritten letter, and a small teddy bear with a recordable voice box sewn inside. This was mine, Lily whispered, lifting the teddy bear. From before. When she pressed its paw, a woman's voice emerged, soft, frightened, but determined. Emily, if you're listening to this, remember that Mommy loves you more than anything in this world. Be brave, sweetheart. The truth will keep you safe now. Kevin carefully examined the legal documents, custody papers, birth certificates, and most critically, evidence of witness protection arrangements for a family named Thompson, dated 3 years earlier. The letter, addressed to law enforcement, explained in desperate terms a mother's attempt to protect her daughter from powerful people who had already killed her husband, a man who had witnessed something he shouldn't have. As Kevin read the final lines, understanding dawned fully. The woman who called herself Catherine wasn't a kidnapper. She was a federal marshal who had hidden Emily when their witness protection location was compromised. Margaret wasn't confused. She had been part of an emergency plan that went awry when the marshal never returned. And her dementia progressed. Emily watched Kevin's face as the pieces finally fell into place. Does this mean I'm not in trouble anymore? She asked. Kevin gathered the evidence carefully. No, sweetheart, it means you're finally going to be safe. For the first time since meeting her, Kevin saw something new in Lily's eyes. Not the calculation of a child forced to survive by her wits, but the tentative hope of someone who might finally be able to trust again. The turning point had arrived. Golden afternoon light streamed through the windows of Judge Samuel Wright's home office as he examined the documents spread across his desk. His silver eyebrows formed a concentrated line as he studied the evidence Kevin had presented. Witness protection, Judge Wright murmured, adjusting his reading glasses. The mother testified against the Blackwood Syndicate, one of the most dangerous criminal organizations on the East Coast. Kevin nodded, keeping his voice low so Lily wouldn't overhear from the living room where Elaine was helping her with a puzzle. According to these documents, Emily's father was killed before he could testify. The mother completed her testimony and they were relocated, but their cover was compromised. And the marshal who was protecting them? Catherine Martinez, Kevin said, sliding over a photograph. Found deceased 3 years ago, shortly after delivering Emily to Margaret. The official report ruled it a car accident, but given the circumstances. Judge Wright removed his glasses, rubbing the bridge of his nose. So this child has been effectively hiding in plain sight for 3 years, with only an elderly woman with advancing dementia as protection. Margaret did her best, Kevin defended. And Emily, adapted. Remarkably, she created an entire fictional life to maintain their cover. The judge studied Kevin's face. You've grown attached to her. It wasn't a question, but Kevin answered anyway. She's extraordinary, Sam. Smart, resilient, loyal. She's been carrying this burden alone since she was 3 years old. And what exactly are you asking me to do, Kevin? This is a federal witness protection case. I need time, Kevin replied. Social services wants to place her immediately, but if the wrong people learn where she is… Judge Wright nodded gravely. I can issue an emergency temporary guardianship order. It won't stop the feds once they realize who she is, but it will prevent social services from placing her in the system while we sort this out. Thank you, Sam. Don't thank me yet, the judge cautioned. This temporary guardianship, who did you have in mind? Kevin met his old, friend's gaze steadily. Me. Later that evening, Kevin sat with Lily on his back porch, fireflies beginning to blink in the twilight. Detective Sophia had arrived with Chinese takeout and legal paperwork, creating an impromptu strategy session that now felt almost like a family dinner. So I get to stay with you? Lily asked, picking carefully at her low mane. While they look for my mom? That's right, Kevin confirmed. Judge Wright's order makes me your temporary guardian until the federal marshals can determine the safest next steps. Lily's fork paused midway to her mouth. And what about Grandma Margaret? Nurse Elaine has arranged for her to be transferred to Maplewood Care Center, Sophia explained gently. It's close to Kevin's house. You can visit her whenever you want. The little girl considered this information, processing it with her usual careful deliberation. Will she remember me? Some days yes, some days no, Kevin answered honestly. But you'll remember her, and that's what matters. Sophia spread several photographs across the picnic table, images from the USB drive found in the lockbox. Lily, do you recognize any of these people? The child studied the images. A woman with dark hair and Emily's same blue eyes. A man with a kind smile, family moments captured in happier times. That's my real mom and dad, she said softly, before the bad people came. We're going to find your mom, Sophia promised. The marshals are already reopening the case. As night fell, Kevin tucked Lily into the small bed he'd hastily prepared in his spare room. The child seemed both smaller and somehow stronger in this new environment, her secret finally shared. Kevin? She asked as he turned to leave. Yes? What happens if they can't find my real mom? The question hung in the air between them, carrying the weight of possibilities neither was ready to voice. Let's take one day at a time, Kevin answered gently. Right now you're safe. That's what matters most. But as he closed her door, leaving it cracked just as she preferred, Kevin wondered if safety alone would be enough for a child who had already lost so much. In the kitchen, Sophia waited with fresh coffee and a determined expression. We've got work to do, she said simply. Kevin nodded, pushing thoughts of retirement completely from his mind. For the first time in years, he had something more important than counting down his final days on the force. He had a child who needed him, and that changed everything. Autumn leaves spiraled down onto Kevin's front lawn where Lily carefully arranged them into colorful patterns. 2 weeks had passed since she'd come to stay with him, 2 weeks of nightmares gradually giving way to tentative smiles, of a child slowly learning to be a child again. Inside, Kevin's kitchen had been transformed into an investigation hub. Maps, timelines, and photographs covered the table where he sat with Sophia and Marshall Davis, the federal agent assigned to Emily Thompson's case. We've confirmed that Emily's mother, Rebecca Thompson, survived the attempt on her life, Marshall Davis explained, tapping a redacted document. After her husband's murder, we relocated her and Emily to Portland under new identities. When their cover was compromised, Marshal Martinez made an emergency extraction of the child only. Why separate them? Kevin asked. Protocol when there's imminent threat, Davis replied grimly. Rebecca stayed behind to create a diversion while Martinez took Emily to a secondary safe house. Margaret Simmons, Rebecca's mother's cousin, but Martinez was killed en route back to Portland, and Rebecca Thompson disappeared completely from our radar. Sophia leaned forward. You think she's been in hiding all this time? Or worse, Davis admitted. The Blackwood organization doesn't forgive witnesses. The front door opened as Lily came in, cheeks flushed from the crisp air, her hands filled with autumn leaves. Conversation immediately shifted as the adults protected her from the harsher details of her own story. That evening, Kevin took Lily to visit Margaret at Maplewood Care Center. The elderly woman's condition had stabilized, though her lucid moments remained rare and brief. "She looks better," Lily observed, arranging flowers in a vase beside Margaret's bed. Kevin nodded. "The doctors say having regular visitors helps." Margaret stirred, her eyes opening slowly. "Emily," she whispered. Lily moved closer, taking Margaret's frail hand. "It's me, Grandma. You don't have to pretend anymore," Margaret said with unexpected clarity. "I remember now. You're Emily." Tears filled Lily's eyes. "Yes, but I like being Lily too. You gave me that name." "No, dear, Catherine did, to keep you safe. Keep you." Margaret's gaze drifted to Kevin. "Did you find the box? Did it help?" "Yes, Margaret. You kept it safe just like you promised." A peaceful smile crossed Margaret's face as she drifted back to sleep, her duty fulfilled at last. Outside the care center, twilight painted the sky in deepening blues as Kevin and Lily walked hand in hand toward the parking lot. The child had grown more comfortable with such gestures of affection, no longer flinching from gentle touches or kind words. "Kevin," Lily said thoughtfully, "if they find my real mom, will I have to go away?" The question pierced Kevin's heart. "That would be up to your mom and the Marshalls, but no matter what happens, you'll always be part of my life. I promise." Lily considered this, her face solemn in the fading light. "I've had a lot of different homes," she said finally, "but yours feels the most like—" She struggled to find the right word. "Like what, sweetheart?" "Like where I belong." As they reached the car, Kevin's phone rang, Sophia's number flashing on the screen. Her voice came through tense and urgent. "Kevin, we've got a hit on Rebecca Thompson's DNA from a hospital in Seattle 3 days ago. She's alive, and she's looking for her daughter. For 3 years she lived with a stranger, not because someone kidnapped her, but because someone deliberately hid her to keep her safe." Sunlight streamed through the windows of Maplewood Park as Kevin watched Lily, Emily, swinging gently on the playground, her face tilted toward the warmth. The past 2 weeks had transformed everything, bringing revelations that rewrote her story entirely. Rebecca Thompson sat beside Kevin on the park bench, her dark hair now streaked with premature gray, her blue eyes, so like her daughter's, watching Emily with a mixture of joy and heartbreak. "I never stopped looking," she said softly. 3 years in hiding, moving constantly, using every contact I had left. The Marshalls thought I was dead, the Blackwoods too. It was the only way I could search for her safely." Kevin nodded, understanding completely. "She never stopped believing in you either, even when she couldn't remember exactly who she was waiting for." The trial that had consumed their lives was finally over. The last members of the Blackwood organization had been sentenced, their power dismantled, their threat neutralized by Rebecca's testimony and evidence preserved by Marshall Martinez before her death. "She called me last night," Rebecca shared, a tentative smile forming. "Mom," she said, just that word, after all this time. Kevin felt both joy and a bittersweet ache. Emily had reclaimed her identity, her mother, her chance at a normal life. Yet he couldn't help feeling the approaching loss of the child who had changed his life so profoundly. "What happens now?" he asked. Rebecca watched her daughter pumping her legs on the swing, higher and higher. "The Marshalls have offered us new identities, a fresh start. Somewhere quiet with good schools, no more running." She turned to face Kevin directly. "But Emily has conditions." "Conditions?" Rebecca's smile widened. "She refuses to go anywhere without regular visits from Grandma Margaret and Officer Kevin." Her words, not mine. Relief and gratitude washed over Kevin. "I think that could be arranged." Emily jumped from the swing at its highest point, landing with the confident grace she'd developed over her years of independence. She ran toward them, breathless with excitement. "Mom! Kevin! Did you see how high I went?" "We sure did, sweetheart," Rebecca laughed. Emily settled between them on the bench, reaching for both their hands naturally, bridging her past and future in one simple gesture. "Can we have our Sunday picnic now?" she asked. "I helped Kevin make the sandwiches this morning." As they spread the checkered blanket beneath an oak tree in full autumn. Glory! Emily arranged the food with meticulous care, a habit from her years caring for Margaret that might never fully fade. When everything was perfectly placed, she looked up at Kevin, her eyes clear and direct, in that way that had always made her seem older than her years. "Kevin," she said with serious consideration, "now that we don't have to hide anymore and Mom's back." She took a deep breath. "Can I call you Dad now, for real this time?" Kevin's heart swelled as he met Rebecca's understanding gaze over their daughter's head. Some families were formed by blood, others by circumstance, and some, like theirs, by the remarkable courage of a child who never stopped believing in happy endings. "Yes, sweetheart," he answered, his voice thick with emotion. "For real this time."